Imagine you're monitoring the Pacific Ocean, thousands of miles from civilization. Your instruments are listening to sounds deep beneath the waves. Whales, earthquakes, ice movements, the usual noises of the ocean. Then suddenly, a sound appears. A sound so powerful that it is detected by sensors nearly 3,000 miles apart. A sound unlike anything scientists had ever recorded before. Low, massive, and strangely alive. At first, nobody knew what caused it. Not a whale, not a submarine, not an earthquake. For years, some people believed it came from a gigantic unknown creature lurking somewhere in the deep Pacific Ocean. A creature larger than any animal ever discovered. And even today, the mystery of that sound continues to fascinate millions. Because in 1997, something deep beneath the ocean made a noise that would become known simply as the bloop. Welcome back to Unknown Depths, the channel where we explore the world's greatest mysteries, unexplained discoveries, and the secrets hidden beneath our oceans. Tonight, we're diving into one of the most famous ocean mysteries ever recorded. The sound that terrified the internet and shocked scientists around the world. Let's begin. The discovery. The year was 1997. The Cold War had ended, but the United States still maintained underwater listening systems throughout parts of the Pacific Ocean. These hydrophones were originally designed to detect submarines, but they also captured something else: the sounds of the ocean itself. Researchers working with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, regularly analyzed these recordings. Most sounds could be identified: whales, volcanic activity, ice cracking, underwater earthquakes. Then, one day, scientists noticed something unusual. A powerful signal appeared on their screens. It lasted for roughly 1 minute. And unlike normal ocean sounds, its frequency changed over time. The sound started low, then gradually increased. A pattern similar to biological sounds made by living creatures. Scientists gave it a simple name: the bloop. At first, nobody knew what they were looking at, and that uncertainty would ignite one of the biggest ocean mysteries ever. To understand why this recording became famous, we need to understand how loud it was. The bloop wasn't just unusual. It was incredibly powerful. The sound was detected by multiple underwater sensors located thousands of miles apart across the Pacific Ocean. That meant whatever produced it released an enormous amount of energy, far more than most marine animals are capable of producing. This immediately created a problem. Scientists knew the ocean's largest animal was the blue whale. Blue whales can create extremely loud calls, but even those calls didn't fully match the characteristics of the bloop. Something about the recording seemed different, and that's when speculation began. As information about the bloop spread online, people started asking questions. What if it wasn't a natural event? What if it wasn't a whale? What if something enormous was hiding in the deep ocean? The theory exploded across the internet. According to some people, the bloop came from a gigantic undiscovered creature. A creature so large that its call could travel across vast distances of ocean. Some compared it to prehistoric sea monsters. Others connected it to fictional creatures like the legendary Cthulhu. The idea captured people's imagination. After all, the deep ocean remains one of the least explored places on Earth. Even today, scientists estimate that much of the ocean remains poorly understood. If unknown creatures existed anywhere, the deep Pacific would be one of the most likely places to find them. And for a while, the monster theory seemed impossible to completely rule out. But there was one problem. Scientists needed evidence.
And extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. So researchers began a long investigation into what actually caused the bloop. What they discovered would reveal something just as fascinating as any sea monster, and perhaps even more surprising. When scientists first discovered the bloop, they didn't have an answer, only a recording. A strange sound coming from somewhere deep within the Pacific Ocean. And whenever there's a mystery, people start creating theories. Some reasonable, some completely unbelievable. But one theory quickly captured the world's attention. What if the bloop came from a giant, unknown creature? The idea wasn't as crazy as it sounded. After all, the ocean is enormous. More than 70% of our planet is covered by water. And even today, large portions of the deep ocean remain unexplored. Scientists discover new marine species every year. Some are strange, some are beautiful, and some look like they belong on another planet. So when people learned that a mysterious sound had been detected thousands of miles apart, their imaginations ran wild. Could something massive be hiding beneath the waves? Something humanity had never seen before? For many people, the answer was yes. One of the reasons the bloop attracted so much attention was its apparent size. Scientists knew that large animals produce powerful sounds. The larger the animal, the larger the structures that can create low-frequency calls. That is why blue whales can communicate across incredible distances. But the bloop seemed different. The sound appeared unusually powerful, and according to some interpretations, it seemed too loud to come from known marine animals. This led to a frightening possibility. If the sound came from a living creature, that creature might be larger than a blue whale. And if that were true, it would be the largest animal ever discovered. A predator hidden in the darkness of the Pacific Ocean. At least, that's what many people wanted to believe. As the mystery spread online, theories became more extreme. Some people connected the bloop to ancient sea monster legends. Stories sailors had told for centuries. Gigantic creatures rising from the depths. Monsters capable of destroying ships. Creatures that supposedly lived where sunlight never reached. Then came one of the most famous connections. The fictional creature Cthulhu. Created by author H.P. Lovecraft, Cthulhu was described as an ancient cosmic entity sleeping beneath the Pacific Ocean. When people noticed that the bloop had originated from a region not far from where Lovecraft imagined Cthulhu resting, the internet exploded. Of course, there was no evidence supporting this idea, but that didn't stop the theory from spreading. Because mysteries are powerful, and sometimes people prefer extraordinary explanations over ordinary ones. While the internet debated monsters, researchers focused on the evidence. The first question was simple. If the bloop came from a creature, why had nobody seen it? Think about what would be required. An animal capable of producing a sound that powerful would likely need an enormous body. It would need food, it would need a population, and it would almost certainly leave traces of its existence. Yet scientists had found nothing. No bones, no photographs, no biological evidence. Nothing. That didn't mean the mystery was solved, but it did mean researchers needed to consider other possibilities. And there were plenty of them.
The Pacific Ocean sits on the famous Ring of Fire, a region filled with volcanic activity, earthquakes, and tectonic movement. Scientists wondered whether the bloop could have originated from a geological event, perhaps an underwater eruption, or shifting tectonic plates. These events can generate powerful sounds, but there was a problem. The signal didn't perfectly match known volcanic recordings. Something about it still seemed unusual. And so, the investigation continued. As researchers searched through old recordings, they discovered something surprising. The bloop wasn't the only strange sound. Over the years, NOAA had recorded several mysterious ocean noises. There was Julia, upsweep, slow down, train. Each had unusual characteristics. Each generated speculation, and some remained unexplained for years. Suddenly, the bloop wasn't just a single mystery. It was part of a much larger puzzle. The ocean was producing sounds scientists didn't fully understand. And that realization raised an uncomfortable question. If we couldn't identify every sound coming from our own planet, how much of the deep ocean were we truly missing? Researchers spent years analyzing data, comparing recordings, studying sound patterns, looking for similarities. Slowly, a picture began to emerge. The bloop shared certain characteristics with another type of sound, a sound produced not by animals, but by ice. Massive ice.
The kind found near Antarctica. At first, the idea seemed disappointing. After all, a giant sea monster is far more exciting than ice. But science doesn't care about exciting stories. Science follows evidence. And the evidence was beginning to point in a very specific direction. Because Antarctica isn't just a frozen continent. It's a place of incredible power. Gigantic ice sheets, massive icebergs, and forces capable of producing sounds louder than almost anything else in nature. When enormous pieces of ice crack, break apart, or scrape against one another, they can generate extraordinary acoustic signals. Signals capable of traveling thousands of miles through the ocean. And those signals can sound surprisingly strange, sometimes even biological. Could that be what scientists had recorded in 1997? Could the bloop really have been created by moving ice? The evidence was becoming harder to ignore, but before researchers could close the case, they needed proof. And that proof would finally arrive years later. For nearly a decade, the bloop remained one of the world's greatest ocean mysteries, a sound linked to monsters, legends, and unexplored depths. But eventually, scientists found an explanation, one supported by data, one supported by evidence, and one that revealed something incredible about our planet. We'll uncover the truth behind the bloop, and why the real explanation is still astonishing. For years, the bloop remained one of the most famous mysteries on the internet. A sound from the depths of the Pacific Ocean. A sound so strange that people imagined giant sea monsters lurking beneath the waves. Some believed it was proof of an undiscovered creature. Others thought it might be something even more mysterious. But while the internet was busy creating theories, scientists were quietly gathering evidence. And after years of investigation, they finally found an answer. An answer that would solve the mystery, yet somehow make the ocean seem even more incredible. Scientists at National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration continued studying underwater recordings collected from across the Pacific. Their goal was simple: find sounds similar to the bloop. If they could identify matching patterns,
they might identify the source. Years passed. Technology improved. More acoustic data became available. And gradually, researchers started noticing something interesting. Whenever large sections of Antarctic ice fractured, the resulting sounds shared many characteristics with the bloop. The frequencies were similar, the structure was similar, even the way the sound traveled through the ocean appeared similar. For the first time, scientists had a serious lead. Most people think of ice as quiet, frozen, still. But Antarctica is anything but quiet. It is constantly changing. Massive glaciers move, ice shelves crack, enormous icebergs break away from the continent. And when these events occur, the amount of energy released can be astonishing. Imagine a piece of ice larger than a city, hundreds of feet thick, breaking apart under immense pressure. The sound produced doesn't stay local. Ocean water carries low-frequency sound incredibly well. In fact, sound travels much farther underwater than it does through air. A powerful acoustic event near Antarctica can travel thousands of miles through the ocean, sometimes reaching sensors on the other side of the Pacific. And that's exactly what researchers believed had happened. Eventually, scientists reached their conclusion. The bloop was most likely created by a large ice quake, an event caused by cracking, fracturing, or movement of Antarctic ice. In other words, the famous mystery wasn't a sea monster, it wasn't an undiscovered giant animal, and it wasn't a hidden civilization beneath the ocean. It was ice, but not ordinary ice, a natural event so powerful that it fooled people around the world for years. And while some were disappointed, many scientists were fascinated because the explanation revealed just how dynamic our planet truly is. You might think the story ends there. Mystery solved. Case closed. But the bloop remains popular even today. Why? Because the mystery was never really about the answer. It was about the possibility. The possibility that something unknown might still exist. Something hidden beyond the reach of human exploration. And that's a powerful idea. After all, the deep ocean remains one of the least explored environments on Earth. Even with modern technology, we know more about some parts of the moon than parts of our own seafloor. That fact alone keeps people's imaginations alive.
Just because the bloop was explained doesn't mean every mystery has been solved. Far from it. Scientists continue discovering new species every year. Strange fish, transparent creatures, bioluminescent organisms, animals adapted to crushing pressures that would instantly kill most surface life. Many of these creatures looked impossible before they were discovered. Yet they were real, living in darkness, waiting to be found. That means there are still surprises hidden beneath the waves. Not necessarily giant monsters, but mysteries nonetheless. The bloop wasn't the only strange sound ever recorded. Over the years, researchers have documented many unusual acoustic events. Some have been explained. Others remain under investigation. The ocean is a noisy place.
Whales communicate across vast distances. Volcanoes erupt beneath the sea floor. Earthquakes shake tectonic plates. Ice shelves fracture. Storms generate underwater sound. And sometimes, multiple events overlap, creating recordings that take years to understand. Every mysterious sound becomes another clue, another piece of the puzzle, helping scientists better understand the hidden world beneath the surface. Perhaps the most important lesson from the bloop is this: Mysteries are valuable, not because they prove extraordinary claims, but because they inspire curiosity. When scientists heard the bloop, they didn't immediately assume they had discovered a monster. They investigated. They collected evidence. They asked questions. And eventually, they found an answer. That's how exploration works. That's how discoveries are made. And that's why science continues pushing into the unknown. Ironically, the real story behind the bloop may be even bigger than the monster theories. Because the event reminds us of the incredible forces shaping our planet. Massive glaciers, moving continents, changing oceans. Natural processes operating on scales difficult for humans to imagine. The Earth itself is astonishing. Sometimes, the truth is just as fascinating as fiction. And sometimes, even more so. In 1997, a mysterious sound echoed through the Pacific Ocean. It traveled thousands of miles, confused scientists, inspired countless theories, and became one of the most famous ocean mysteries ever recorded. For years, people wondered if it came from a giant creature hidden in the depths. But the evidence told a different story. A story of ice, of Antarctica, and of a planet far more powerful and mysterious than we often realize. Yet even though the bloop has been explained, the deep ocean remains largely unexplored. Countless discoveries are still waiting. Countless mysteries remain unsolved. And somewhere beneath the waves, the next great mystery may already be happening. We just haven't heard it yet. If you enjoyed this journey into one of the ocean's most famous mysteries, be sure to subscribe to Unknown Depths and turn on notifications. Because here at Unknown Depths, the deeper we go, the more incredible the truth becomes.